Hello everybody. Today in the shoddy kitchen we're going to be making idli, which is a South Indian dish quite often had for breakfast, but we're actually going to have it with our evening meal. We're going to use it in place of rice to have with our dal. I think later on Suanna's going to tell you a little bit about idlis and the various types and how they're made and so forth. What we're making is a simple version. So I've sort of I didn't invent this myself, but I kind of worked out how to do it myself rather than following a recipe. So hopefully it will all come out well. Anyway, what we've got here, basic ingredients. We've got a little bit of urad dal in here. That's probably about a tablespoon that we just roasted in a dry pan. And that's going to give it a nice little texture, and it has got a sort of slight taste of its own, which is very nice as well. The main ingredient is Rawa, which is suji or Semolina flour. This was lightly roasted already. It doesn't have to be, but it was yesterday by Suanna because we were doing something else, so it's already been lightly roasted. And we're going to use a yogurt, but this isn't proper yogurt, as you would say. It's not a dairy yogurt. We've made this out of tofu that we've put in the blender with a couple of drops of mustard oil and a little bit of salt, and it makes a bit of a yogurt substitute for when you're making things like this. Works very well actually. And then we need a little baking powder. I'm going to put in a few seeds. These are ajwan seeds. So I'll tell you again as we go along what I'm putting in, and you'll just see for yourselves how it all goes together. First thing we've done, we've put a pan on the boil. This is just water in here. That amount of water, it's probably about a litre of water in there, 1.5 litres, large pan. And we're going to cook the idli in this little contraption. Now you don't panic, you don't have to have one of these. If you look at it, it's just like an egg poaching pan, but these stack up so that you can make a number at a time. So I've already oiled these lightly, just rubbed a bit of oil on them, stop them sticking, and that's how we're going to cook them. They look like little flying saucers when they're finished. A bit like a poached egg really, when you've done it in a pan, you know, like a little flying saucer shape like this. Okay, let's go. So as I say, in here is a little bit of urad dal that's been lightly roasted in the pan. You could not do that should you not have any. You can actually do put a few cashew nuts in there crumbled up or similar, so with a little bit of crunch that you can just give a bit of texture to your idlis with. Into that I'm going to add a cup of Rawa, Semolina flour, so that much. And a small amount of, this is rice flour. I'm not going to put a lot in there, be a couple of tablespoons full. Now that's not necessary either if you don't have it, but I find it makes them a little bit more light. It's a bit lighter than the Rawa itself. So now's time for the yogurt. What I'm going to do, this is quite thick, this yogurt. We haven't mixed it very thinly, so I'm going to add a little water in that just before I put it in into the mixture, just so it doesn't go too claggy with the Rawa flour. Suanna's doing a sterling job with the camera work today.
See, look at his mistakes, what he's doing.
Yeah, she's zooming in on everything I'm doing wrong. Right, so that's just going to go straight in there. I'll put a little bit more water in there so I don't waste anything, just keep Suanna happy. There we go.
Just cleaning it.
I'm cleaning it out, that's all, simply that. Okay, so mix it up just Rawa, and it'll be slightly lumpy for now, but we're going to add water in now. So now I'll add a little bit of water. Now I tend to do this a bit at a time because what I found is when I've tried to do it in a measured amount, sometimes it comes out runny, sometimes it comes out thick. So now I tend to do it a bit at a time until I get the consistency I'm after. And you also want a smooth batter, you don't want a lumpy, bumpy batter. we've actually had quite a nice day today. There's been no rain this morning, really, very much. So I haven't got much dropping down the back or anything today. So I can sort of concentrate on what I'm doing. Right, that is a little thick at the moment, but what I'm going to do before I carry on and add more water, I'm going to add some salt, just a big pinch of salt in there. You can see this has got slightly damp because of the monsoon, but it's still salt nevertheless. And a few ajwain seeds. I think we've told you about these before. These are like, taste a little bit like thyme, but slightly stronger taste. I'm just going to sprinkle a few of those in there. You don't want too many of these because they're actually quite strong, but just a little taste through your idlis is quite nice. You can use other seeds. You could use fennel. You could probably use sesame. I think I've never done it, but
any seeds which you like, you can put.
Yes.
No harm.
Some people do cook they get in a dry stove and they'll put in seeds and they'll put in a few bits and pieces and then they'll add that into their idlis, some cashew nuts and all that. These are going to be relatively simple, but obviously once you know the basic you can experiment for yourselves and add a few little fancy smarty tarty bits in there. Okay, so I think everything is in there now except the baking powder and a little bit more water. Actually, what I might do, I'll put the baking powder in now. This just helps let it rise. You can probably do it without this, but I've never had great success, so I'm going to use a little bit. So that's sort of a teaspoon, I'd say, of baking powder in there. Now when I put the water in, that should activate that. So we're going to be a nice smooth batter now. Right, that's the sort of consistency I like. We're going to leave it for a few minutes so it will thicken up slightly and we'll line the moulds. So while I'm doing that, while I'm fiddling about and tidying up a little bit, Suanna's going to tell you a little bit about the different types of idlis that we have.
Okay, so actually this is another type of idli, like this is of Semolina, and previously I hope you all remember about the dosa thing. So dosa also batter is almost same, so but it is more thicker, so like fermenting of the rice and the urad dal and blah blah blah, all that. So we traditionally we make it in a cooker. Idlis with the rice idlis, we make it in a cooker, so it's like we have to keep it for 10 minutes or something and then remove them. That's it. Same procedure of like making of Rawa idli also, but the things are different in this. That's it, and nothing else.
The beauty of the Rawa idli is you don't have to do any fermenting or any fancy preparation. Literally, you see me just throw that together. Whereas the fermented rice idli, which are probably slightly more sophisticated and complex, do take some time. You have to prepare the stuff the day before and ferment it and all that. But this you can just put together. So if you're having we're going to have it with some dal in place of some rice. But a lot of people do eat this for breakfast with sweet
with chutney and
chutneys and coconut chutneys. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now, I can hear this water's boiling away now. Yeah, the water's boiling away now. I'm going to fill these moulds with this mixture.
He already applied oil.
I've already applied oil on these, yes, you can see there's a little residue. I use coconut oil because I quite like the slightly smoky taste you get from it when it's heated up. So, I think from these moulds we'll get 12 idli, and that would, for me, I will probably eat 3 or 4, but I think Suanna's family have about 15 each when they have them. So,
not 15 each, it's too much.
Alright, 11.
So yeah, he's going to fill up all the molds, and then we'll come back to you.
Right, we're back on. So, if you look here, I've filled up the idli moulds. What I found is the 1 cup of Rawa I've made exactly 10 idli, which will be perfect for us today. So I'll stack those up. Now what I find when you're filling these from the bowl, it's good to stir it every now and again. Don't just take it from the top because you'll end up with thicker ones at the end and thinner ones at the beginning. So give it a little stir every so often. And they do rise. Oh, hang on, I lost her. There. They do rise a little bit. So if you look at the mould here, I always stagger them so as they rise, they don't hit the mould above. It's just a slightly badly designed mould. I was a bit stingy actually when I went to the shop. They had a proper, like, custom-made one with all layers in and all that, and I didn't want to spend money. And I really wish I had. But anyway, this is another story.
And this is okay, I guess.
So I'm going to drop this in here, straight into the boiling water. That's on a rolling boil. Get the lid on, and I'm going to steam that for about 15 or 20 minutes, probably somewhere in the middle of those two. And then when they're steamed and hopefully puffed up and looking good, I'll come back and show you what they look like. Welcome back. I was being serenaded by Suanna. It was very nice, it was too. Okay, so we've cooked these for, I think I set the timer for 16 minutes.
Look at them!
Look at those little beauties. So I'm just going to lift it out. Hopefully it won't be too red hot.
It's hot, Steve. Be
Okay.
careful. I don't want.
Nice
Oh my
sleeve.
god. This
Okay, so you can
is
get
such
a
a
close
beauty.
Little beauties. So what I would normally do is leave these to sit for a while now, just so they cool down. But because I want to show you what they look like complete, I'm going to try and ease one out gently. I mean, obviously they're not going to be quite as durable as they would be had I left them to cool. But you get the general idea.
Sorry for the video, it got shook.
Yeah, so here we have a
That's
little
good.
puffy cake. And inside, obviously they could have done with sitting for a few minutes to steam out, but
Yeah.
if you imagine dipping that in a nice sort of curry sauce or something,
Yes.
there you go. So that'll make a nice little change for us today.
Yeah.
We're nearing the time when Suanna's leaving actually, which is why we're making a
Oh
lot of
my
these.
god, I'm getting tears in my eyes.
What are we going to do? We still haven't worked out the technicalities of the long distance cooking things we're going to try and
Yes.
do.
We'll have a long distance relationship, cooking relationships,
Yes,
me
we
and
will.
Steve.
We will indeed. But
Look
yeah,
at his
well,
sad face, oh my god, that's so heartbreaking.
it is. So we're probably only fitting a few more. I've got a few videos we've made already that I haven't posted yet, so we'll have enough to last us a week or so while we work out how we're going to step
Yeah.
into the next phase of our cooking collaboration.
Yes.
So anyway, there you go. Rawa Idli.
Presents.
Presented by-
Presented by Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Yes.